Jonah Hale had imagined his bride long before he ever saw her face. In his mind, she was quiet, plain. A woman who would lower her eyes when spoken to, who would cook, clean, pray, and accept the rhythm of ranch life without complaint. That was what he had been promised. What the letter from his distant aunt had described. A sensible arrangement. A woman in need of security. A man in need of a wife. No romance required. Just survival. The day she arrived, the prairie wind carried dust across the road like a warning. Jonah stood on the porch of his ranch house, arms crossed, boots planted firm in the wood worn smooth by years of solitude. The land stretched endlessly behind him, golden grass, weather-beaten fences, cattle grazing slow and patient. This land had been his entire world since his parents died. No laughter, no softness, just work and silence. Then the stagecoach appeared. It rattled like it had fought the road and barely survived. Jonah narrowed his eyes, already disappointed. This was it. This was how his life would change, quietly, inconveniently, with a stranger stepping into his routine like an unavoidable chore. The coach stopped. The driver hopped down. Then the door opened, and everything Jonah believed shattered in a single heartbeat. She stepped out wearing trousers. Not a dress. Not modest skirts, trousers, dusty boots, a leather belt cinched around her waist. Her dark hair was braided, thick and unruly, with loose strands dancing in the wind like they refused to obey anyone. She stood tall, stretching like someone who had traveled too long but feared nothing ahead. She looked around, lifted her chin, and smiled, not shy, not grateful, confident. Jonah forgot how to breathe. "This is Hale Ranch?" She called out, voice clear, strong, unapologetic. Jonah stepped forward slowly. "Yes." She walked toward him without hesitation, eyes sharp and curious. "Good, took long enough." That was when he knew. This was not the woman he had agreed to marry. "I'm Eliza Reed," she said, extending her hand. "I believe you're my future husband." Jonah stared at her hand like it might bite him. "You're not what I expected," he said carefully. She laughed, an unrestrained, genuine sound that cut through the stillness of the plains. "Funny, you're exactly what I expected. A man who thinks life should stay the same forever." That night, silence filled the house heavier than ever before. Eliza explored the ranch as if it belonged to her already. She asked questions, too many. Why fences were placed where they were. Why Jonah refused to hire help. Why he never went into town unless necessary. She noticed everything, and that unsettled him. At dinner, she spoke of things Jonah had never heard a woman speak of. Traveling alone, standing up to men who underestimated her, surviving a childhood that taught her how to fight, not submit. "You don't act like a wife," Jonah finally said. Eliza met his gaze calmly. "I don't act like a prisoner." The words struck, deeper than Jonah expected. Days passed, tense and uncertain. Eliza rode horses like she'd been born in the saddle. She fixed broken rails without asking. She challenged Jonah, questioned his choices, his isolation, his belief that pain was best carried alone. He tried to remain distant, tried to remind himself this was temporary, a mistake. But late at night, when he heard her humming softly while repairing a lantern, when he saw her laughing with the ranch hands he rarely spoke to, something inside him stirred, not desire, fear, because for the first time in years, Jonah Hale felt his carefully controlled life slipping beyond his grip. And Eliza Reed was the reason. The storm arrived without mercy. Thunder rolled across the plains like an ancient warning, and the sky darkened into a violent gray. Jonah had seen storms before, had survived them, alone, but this one felt different, heavy, personal. Eliza was still out in the fields. Jonah mounted his horse without thinking. He found her near the old corral, struggling to secure a loose gate as rain began to pour. The wind whipped her hair free from its braid, and lightning split the sky behind her. "Are you trying to get yourself killed?" Jonah shouted. Eliza turned, rain-soaked and furious. Someone had to do it. Together they fought the storm, hands slipping, muscles burning, breath ragged. When it was over, they stood inches apart beneath the collapsing sky, drenched and trembling. For the first time, Jonah saw fear in her eyes. That night she confessed the truth. She hadn't come for comfort, or obedience, or safety. She had come because she was tired of running, tired of being told she was too much, too loud, too wild. "I didn't want to disappear into a life where I wasn't seen," she said softly. "I wanted to choose my future." Jonah realized then that he had done the same thing, just differently. He had hidden behind solitude, behind land and routine, behind the belief that needing nothing meant never being hurt again. Eliza didn't break his walls. She showed him they were already broken. The town didn't accept her easily. Whispers followed her. Judgment hung thick in the air. A woman like Eliza unsettled people, especially men who believed women should be small. When conflict came, Jonah stood beside her. Not in front, not behind, beside. He defended her choices, her voice, her right to be exactly who she was. Love didn't arrive suddenly. It grew, in shared silences, in laughter, in arguments that ended in understanding, in nights where Jonah learned that strength didn't mean control, it meant trust. Months later, when Jonah looked at Eliza across the porch at sunset, he saw not chaos but balance. She had brought color to his gray world, and he had given her roots without cages. The cowboy who expected a plain bride learned the greatest truth of all. Sometimes the wild woman doesn't ruin your life. She saves it if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, stories of courage, love, and transformation. Subscribe to the channel now. More powerful stories are coming and you won't want to miss the next one.